And we are live from the heartland, and so are you. Welcome, welcome. It's Friday night, November the 18th, 2022. And we are ready to rock and roll. We've got some unindoctrination to bring to you tonight. Judeochristian possession inversion. They are sevenfold worse, but hold on, because there's more to that story. We'll be back again Monday night at 7:30 with more of Late Night from the Heartland. Used to be. Now it's just live from the Heartland because we're not that late at night anymore. But it's good to see everybody here, and we'll say hello to some people as we roll into our Friday night. Derek Hurlbert, Jama Baker, Snake Dagger, Abby Dishaw. I think it's been a while. Tammy Miles, Christy Daniels, Jama Baker. Chick Pot Pie is here with us. Ruby is here. Scuba Meru, Jack Nelson, Shroom God 83, Stormy Flores, Marvin McBride. I think I mentioned Derek already. Missing You is here. Gia is also here. So we are broadcasting tonight on the Unindoctrinate with Jeffrey Daugherty YouTube channel, the Ex-Vangelical Hour YouTube channel, and also the Flee the Watchtower YouTube channel, in addition to Twitch and Twitter, Odyssey, and our go-to platform, Rockfin. Out of Bubblegum is here. Tenebris is here. Carol Luthy's here. Linda Fiskey, so nice to see you. And over on the Rockfin side, we've got Brandon and Francois. We have Holly. We have Cruz Michael. Linda Ferguson is in the house. Nice to see Linda. Mark is here. Rhonda T is here. She says it's her first time live. Well, since it's your first time, we'll make sure that we're gentle to you. Well, as gentle as we can be, because we don't do gentle that well. Steve Borg Resistance is in the house. Juan Galvez, who grows the most aromatic coffee in the world, is here. Claire 76, nice to see you as well. Tenebris, he's here, and I guess he's got his popcorn and he's ready to go. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right in. It's Friday night, so let's just get things started. It's going to be an interesting time. We're into part 3, I think it is, of the Return of the Gods, and here we go. They are sevenfold worse, Judeo-Christian possession. And if you looked at this, what the hell is that? Well, it's inversion. And what is an inversion? It's turning things backwards. It's turning things upside down. I could have done it upside down and backwards, but I didn't feel that creative. So we just got it inverted. It's backwards. So this is Judeo-Christian possession inversion. Alan Stiles is here. Steve Borg, we've been having so much nonsense since they kicked us off of our 57,000 subscriber channel, I think it was. Steve says no notice, and YouTube took our channel out of his subscriber list. So make sure that you still are with us and go to jeffreydaugherty.com. Put your address, your email address into the box there. So you can always keep track of us. We'll let you know where we are, because things probably aren't going to get, well, they're going to be interesting. So here we go. Let's talk about the great Judeo-Christian possession inversion. Okay? Now, what we're doing is taking the book. What you see in the white block is the book that we are looking at. What you see in yellow, obviously, is me highlighting it. And then over here, what's yellow is direct commentary to the highlighting. What's white and another color, you like have a little contrast. Those are typically my pithy comments. So, first of all, there's no record of spiritual possession in pagan communities. Our gods did not, and our gods simply do not work that way. You don't read about pagans being possessed, no matter what this greasy rabbi says. You just don't. Espiritualidad internis. Nice to see you. I know I butchered that, but I tried. But the final piece of the puzzle, says the rabbi, lies in an ancient passage recorded in the New Testament. Can't be that ancient if it's recorded in the New Testament. The words of Jesus given to his disciples, a parable which is a revelation of profound, massive, and prophetic ramifications. Well, it might be. When an unclean spirit goes out of a man, he goes through dry places, seeking rest, finds none. Then he says, I'll return to my house from which I came. What does that mean, and how does it relate to the matter of the gods? Well, as a 25-year former Pentecostal evangelist, 20 years full-time, I know all about casting out demons. And the lore goes that when you cast a demon out of a man, Daphne is in the house. Nice to see Daphne reloaded. When you cast a demon out of a man or a woman, that demon is then free to go look for 7 more that are worse than it, and they will come back to that person, find everything swept clean and taken care of, and then they're able to bring 7 more so that the end is worse than it was even when you were possessed the first time. Smoochie's in the house. Tammy Miles is here. This is how it works. The demons and the preachers are working together, just like the man and the dog. However, in paganism and heathenism, there's no record of spiritual possession. We didn't have that, and we still don't have that. However, Judeochristianity works exactly that way. And again, as evidence, I offer to you that Jesus, in his exclusively Jewish ministry, remember yesterday, we saw Jesus say, I was sent only to the lost Jewish people, the lost house of Israel. That's all I was sent to. And yet, every time Jesus turned around, he was running into demons. In his exclusively Jewish ministry, Jesus was running into demons constantly. That's because demon possession was for the Jew first and then for the Gentile. And as proof that Christianity is based upon demonic spiritual possession. Oh, Jeff, I don't like that word demon. I don't really either. But Christianity is based upon, let's say, spiritual possession, being possessed by a spirit. Romans 8:11 says, and if the spirit of him that raised Jesus from the dead is living in you. Can we stop there for a minute? If you've got a spirit that's not yours and he's living in you, are you possessed, yes or no? I even had a complete psychopathic lunatic idiot and his wife who was equally psychopathic and equally idiotic. They actually made a video about me saying that I was wrong about this, and that if you're a Christian, you better want to be possessed. Well, at least they were honest, right? In that very narrow application. Because if the spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead is living in you, then you're possessed by a spirit. But Jeff, it's God, it's the Father, it's a spirit. We're talking about possession by spirits. And if you're a Christian, and the spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead is living in you, you're possessed by a spirit. And if he who raised Christ from the dead is living in you, then he will give life to your mortal body. That just means this mortal body. Doesn't mean you're going to be going to heaven. But how does he get into you? Well, John 14:23 was very clear about it. Jesus said, if anybody loves me, but Jeff, I just want to love Jesus. I don't want to be a Christian. I want to love Jesus. Well, you can, but there's a price. Jesus is like a whore. Jesus is like a prostitute, because not all prostitutes are whores, not all whores are prostitutes. Jesus is like a prostitute. No pay, no play. He may love you long time. He may give you a happy ending, but you got to pay. So Jesus said, if anybody love me long time, my Father will love him long time. and we will come into him, and we will make our abode with him. That word abode means to live. So Christians, not only are you, by your own word, possessed, you're double possessed. How many does it take to get to legion status? You're double possessed. Because if you love Jesus, oh, I'm not a Christian anymore, I just love Jesus. Well, congratulations. As Jimmy Swaggart would say, congratulations are in order. Hallelujah. Congratulations. If you love Jesus, both him and his Father are going to possess you. That's two spirits. But if they can bring 7 more, you might have 16. And yet, this greasy little rabbi wants to tell us that pagans and heathens are the ones that deal in demon possession, when you can't be a Christian unless you're double possessed. Raven Blue is here. Jason C. is here. Nice to see you. Wow, that's strong, isn't it? That's strong. And in this parable, it says that when you cast out a demon and it goes around and looks, brings back 7 more that are worse than it, goes back to the same man who swept clean, and then the end is worse than the first. And then Jesus said, the Jesus character, of course, said, so shall it be with this wicked generation. And he actually makes, the rabbi does a pretty good point here, because the parable is not just about individual possession, but it is about collective mass possession of a culture, of a civilization. Amy Alwine says, I've been missing your show. Glad to see you. Glad to see you too, girl. Jessica May just made it. She enjoys this topic. I'm very, very glad. Smoochie thinks Jeebus is a creep. I don't know if you saw Swaggart with the big orange blob or not. You might have. You might have. I don't keep track of Jimmy anymore. But this parable is about the possession of both individuals and civilizations, because that's how Judeo-Christianity works. Judeo-Christianity works one possession at a time. Nice to see genetically modified. And you must keep in mind, well, Jeff, I'm not a Christian. I just love Jesus. Jesus said that if you love me and my daddy will come in you. So, Daphne, it's really 2 for 1. It's really 2 for 1. I think they call it a threesome. It's a mini train. I don't know how you want to call it, but hey, there it is. There it is. We pagans also fit this parable perfectly, because in AD 70, we cleansed the house. In fact, we tore the house down. In fact, we tore it so down that there wasn't even 2 rocks left on another. And then we plowed the field. So we destroyed Judeo-Christianity. We destroyed the Jewish temple. We destroyed the Judeo-Christian part that was becoming and building up. So we destroyed it. We destroyed it all. We burned it to the ground in 70 AD. We kicked their ass. But we let them come back. We didn't lock the door. We didn't close the door. We didn't shut them out. And what happened? They came back, and in line with the scripted prophecy, in line with their promise, they came back 7-fold worse, and we are worse off now than we were before we defeated them. And it's our own fault. This is why I'm so harshly against this idiotic Christian nationalism, this idiotic white identity Christian. It's just idiotic because these people are so Stockholm syndrome and they're so possessed by the fear and guilt, blood magic, tribalistic, mind control matrix that they want to be Christians, not realizing you can't be a Christian without being a Judeo-Christian, and that virus will get into us and it will destroy us even if we burned everything to the ground like we did before. You can't allow Christianity in, or it always, I used to say when I was an evangelist, don't let the devil ride because he always winds up driving. I was right, but I was wrong. Don't let the Christians ride because they wind up driving. And they will drive us into a ditch every single time. And we're in a worse position now than we were in AD 70. We ruled the world in AD 70. Pagan Rome ruled the world in AD 70. Today, we're barely hanging on in our own country. Thank you, Jesus. Now get the hell out. And Smoochie said it earlier. You can cast them right out just as easily as you ask them in. And you should. Okay, moving on. But the good news is it works both ways. It works both ways. Then he goes, takes with him 7 more spirits, goes back. The end is worse than it was at the beginning. This book from a Judeo-Christian rabbi is proof that they know that we know. They know that we let them back in and that they came back sevenfold, and they have now reigned 1,000 years. I know the history books tell you it's 2,000 years. They're wrong. It's 1,000. 1,000 years was added to history. You can't get these guys that trust the Jesuit and the Calvinistic historians to get it through their skulls, but it's true anyway. They've added 1,000 years to history. It's only been 1,000 years since this New Testament nonsense came to be. So they reigned 1,000 years. But they made the same mistake that we did, only they really didn't make the mistake. They just couldn't get it done because they didn't have enough people. They didn't have enough people. They have failed to eradicate us. They have failed to completely eradicate our gods. So now we have the opportunity, having been cast out, we have the opportunity to come back with sevenfold vengeance of our own. That's my message. We're coming back, and we're coming back with sevenfold vengeance. We're the last generation of real humans. We're divine. We're sovereign. We're free. We're going to win. This world's going to be better than it's ever been, sooner than even we can imagine, and we're the only ones stopping it. We're the only ones stopping it. But they're desperate to stop us. They've got to keep us ignorant. They can't let us learn that the 1,000-year reign of Judeo-Christianity, TikTok, is out of time. That's why they've got this Christian nationalist nonsense, this white identity Christian nonsense, this I love Jesus, but I'm not a Christian nonsense. You love Jesus, both him and his Father are coming in you, possessing you. Then go back to the rabbi. He says, how could the spirits and gods return to Western civilization? And if that civilization should turn away from God, from his word, from the gospel, which means the divine victories of Caesar, from Christianity, from Jesus, if that happens, the gods will return. That's what I've been doing for the last 15 years. Getting people to turn away from the Bible God, getting people to turn away from the Bible word, getting people to turn away from Christianity. And when I first started, over 70% of people self-identified as Christians. Now less than 50 do. I'm making progress. and our gods will return, and our gods are returning. We're coming back, baby. We and our gods are returning, and we're returning sevenfold. That's how I know the world's going to be better than it's ever been. Sooner than even we can imagine. That's how we know. And just like it was worse for us, sevenfold worse for us, it's going to be worse for them. And in fact, it's going to be their end. Tonight, I'm telling you that we will live to see the end of Judaism. We will live to see the end of Christianity. We will live to see the end of Judeochristianity. And once we take possession of our land again, it will be far worse for them than it was in the beginning. The Judeo-Christians know. They know that their time has run out. And by the way, the Judeo-Christians are the Goyim. They are the Gentiles. We're not. We're pagans. We're heathens. We're deists. They know their time has run out. They know that we stand on the very verge of victory. They know that a great pagan force is massing against them with sevenfold fury now. This is why the Judeo-Christian rabbi scribbled this book. This is the reason for Christian identity. This is the reason for Christian nationalism. This is the reason for Trump Part 2. They know that they are about to be overrun by the last generation of real humans. They know they are about to come face to face with the last battalion. They know that they are about to run into the wild hunt. They know that their time is over. And the only way they can extend it is by making sure that people like me don't let people like you know that TikTok, the gig is up. The gig is up. And the crowd goes wild. I can hear you going wild right now. And the Judeo-Christian rabbi, he does tell us some truths as Delaney comes in. Nice to see Delaney. The rabbi says that in the case of America, the connection is even stronger. As Israel was consecrated to God from its inception, so was America. America was established after the pattern of ancient Israel. If America followed the ways of God, it would become most blessed, prosperous, and powerful. He's right, but for the wrong reasons. His statement is 100% correct. Israel was consecrated to the Bible God, and America was not from its inception, but before its independence, it was consecrated via Israeli intervention to the Bible God. America was not established after the pattern of ancient Israel, but it surrendered to the pattern of ancient Israel right before Yorktown. Right before Yorktown. Let me tell you a little story about a man named George. This man named George was the general of an army that was out of food, out of shoes, out of boots, out of bullets, out of beans, and just about out of time. He couldn't borrow any more money. He had the British pinned down in Yorktown. If he could just get there, he could take care of them. But he couldn't get there. He didn't think. He had a decision to make. And along comes Alexander Hamilton and his Jewish cohorts. that offered Washington the money that he needed to supply his army right before Yorktown. So Washington made a deal with the Judeochristians. You give me bullets and beans, and I'll let you enter into the United States of America. You give me bullets, boots, and beans, and I will allow you to bring your business of slavery into the United States of America. That's what happened just before the decisive Battle of Yorktown. The Judeo-Christians dangled the carrot before Washington, and Washington took it. But as the rabbi writes, if our hearts turn away, if they don't obey, if we worship and serve other gods, we will surely perish. You will surely perish, Rabbi. You are perishing right now. You will surely perish because our gods are back, baby. And where our gods are, we are, because that's how it works. Where our gods are, we are. That's how it works. And we are back, and we are back better than ever, and we're not going anywhere, and you guys are going down for the last time. I gotta come into thank you, Jama, for knocking that out. Jason, Marvin, we appreciate you being here, but you'll get knocked out of the chat if you don't act nice. You're distracting people. You're distracting people. And this is your fair warning. Okay. So here we go. Back to it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cousins of all ages. They will perish. I promise you. No problem, Marvin. I don't know if I can do this on YouTube. How much further do I have left? I don't think I can do this on Washington. Or I can do this on YouTube. I'll just have to be a little creative. George Washington and Benjamin Franklin didn't like the Judeo-Christians very much. You can see what I'm reading, and if I'm not reading exactly the way it's written, you'll just have to understand. You'll just have to understand. You know, original Stormtrooper, I love your passion, but I don't think you're accurate in this case. Your God left, my God left. They didn't leave, but they killed enough of us and scared enough of us that we quit worshiping our gods. We quit entertaining and interacting with our gods. So our gods did leave. They left the scene. They lost their power. They went into abeyance. Because without us and our interaction with our gods don't have power in this realm. That's just the way it is. So, yes, our gods did leave because we got killed and we got weak. But like you, original Stormtrooper, I'm back, baby. And I'm back louder and prouder than ever. And my gods are back with me because I and my gods are one. Me and original Stormtrooper, we marched together. And whether our gods were gone or not, we're back, baby. And we're just getting started. We're just getting started. I fully agree with General Washington. This was said at the Constitutional Convention in 1789 by Benjamin Franklin. And what he agrees with is, here's what George Washington said. And again, I'm being a little bit creative because I have to on YouTube. The Judeo-Christians work more effectively against us than the enemy's armies. It's true. They are 100 times more dangerous to our liberties and to the great cause we're engaged in. And that's still true. It is much to be lamented that each state long ago has not hunted them down as pests to society and the greatest enemies to the happiness of America, the Judeo-Christians. We should have kept them out. Now it's time to kick them out. Benjamin Franklin said, I agree with General Washington. We got to protect this young nation. And this menace, gentlemen, is the Judeo-Christians. In whatever country Judeo-Christians have settled in any great numbers, they've tried to strangle that country to death financially. For 1,700 years, the Judeo-Christians, I say 1,000, have been bewailing their sad fate and that they've been exiled from their homeland. But gentlemen, should they today be given their homeland back completely, they would find some reason for not returning. Why? Because they're vampires, and vampires don't feed on other vampires. They can't live only amongst themselves. They have to subsist on us. If you don't exclude these Judeo-Christians from the United States, in less than 200 years, they will have swarmed in such great numbers that they'll dominate and devour the land. He's right. They'll change our form of government. He's right. We Americans shed our blood for a deist republic, and they'll have us doing the Jesus Judeo-Christian dance. If you don't exclude them, in less than 200 years, our descendants will be working to feed them. I warn you, gentlemen, if you don't exclude the Judeo-Christians for all time, your children will curse you in your graves. Judeo-Christians, gentlemen, let them be born where they will, but never let them live here. Their ideas don't conform to America's, and they don't. A leopard can't change its spots. Judeo-Christians are a menace to this country, and if permitted entrance, they should be excluded by the Constitution. And they were up until Washington made his deal. What are you saying, Jeff? I'm saying that all Judeo-Christians and Muslims, all Abrahamic religionists should be removed from all places of authority and leadership in our country. And until they are, we'll never be free. Washington knew it. Franklin knew it. I know it. You know it. Do you have the testicular fortitude to admit it? I don't know. But they, the Judeo-Christians, the Goyim, they know. What would happen if the ancient pagan gods, our gods, returned to a civilization based on a Judeo-Christian foundation? What would happen? Their return, our return, would trigger a metamorphosis. The Christian or biblically based culture would have to transform into a pagan one. Can I get a big howl? Yeah. I'm from the South. I have a funny accent. Christian values would be replaced by pagan values, and they're not the same. Christian values would be replaced by pagan ethics, and they're not the same. The Christian worldview would be replaced by a pagan worldview, and they're not the same. We would witness, and we are witnessing, the paganization of American civilization and the repaganization of Western society. They know it's coming, and only we can stop us now. What would a pagan-based society look like? What would pagan values look like? What would pagan ethics look like? What would a pagan worldview look like? What would a pagan America look like? What would a pagan world look like? Emma's in the house. It would look like it looked like before Christianity. Simple. We'd mostly live and keep to ourselves. We wouldn't have these stinking, rotting, filthy cities. We wouldn't have a fiat currency. We wouldn't have centralized banking. We wouldn't have this monstrosity of top-down education system. We wouldn't have collective farming poisoning us. We wouldn't have big pharma. We wouldn't have a Federal Reserve. We wouldn't have a central bank. We wouldn't have Walmart. We wouldn't have Sam's Club. We'd have Joe's Club and Bill's Club and Cindy's Club and local stores. It'd be like we really want it to be. What you think a Christian great nation is, that's pagan. Because in a pagan society, it's called live and let live. Do what you want to do. Be what you want to be. Just don't bring that shit on me. It's that simple. It's that easy. If you want to worship a dead rabbi on a stick, go for it. Just don't bring it into my school. Just don't bring it into my town square. And don't try to convince my kids to do it. If you want to worship whatever you want to worship, do it. Pagan civilization is where everybody works together for the common good and leaves each other the hell alone. And that's what they are afraid of. That's what we want. And that's what we're going to get. The rabbi asked, could the ancient parable of spirits hold the key to what is now taking place in American Western civilization? Yes. The rabbi laments, the door was left open. My door was left open. Yes, it was. The rabbi laments, the two primary safeguards against the gods, monotheism and the word, are now being nullified. Yes, they are. I got to go back over to YouTube and take somebody else out of the chat room. Good. Somebody already pulled them out for me. Thank you very much. Remember, this is my show, not your show. You can make a statement, but you can't preach your doctrine here. You got to build up your own channel to do that. Thank you. Great moderating. Outstanding moderating. Monotheism. Can you imagine anything less creative, more boring? And can you imagine anyone, I don't know what else to say, Cynthia, but how can you be so stupid to look at this world and think, oh, there's just one God, my God? Monotheism is going away because it's stupid. It's nonsense. Their word. There's one book that God said everything in. That's nonsense. The conflict is ultimately spiritual, gods against gods, the rematch of an ancient battle. No, not really. It's us against them. The rabbi says, oh, the schools, Hollywood, entertainment, oh, the financial system went away from God. This rabbi's blaming us, and he knows good and damn well who took control of the financial system. We all do. We all do. He knows damn good and well who took control of the education system. We all do. He knows who took care of Hollywood, took control of Hollywood. We all do. He knows who took control of finance. We all do. But he's trying to make us forget that, and he's trying to reframe it. He's trying to make us forget that it was his people that took over the schools, took over Hollywood, took over entertainment, took over the financial system, took over our country. He wants us to forget that so they can reframe it and say the pagans did it. It's the pagans that did all this. All pagans are guilty of is rebelling against their God all pagans are guilty of is rebelling against Kabbalistic Judeo-Christianity. And cousins, we're just getting started. And the crowd goes wild. The crowd goes wild. Did I hit the wrong button? No. So, what are they doing? They're condemning us. Okay. Bye-bye. I tried to be nice. They're condemning us, they're condemning our gods, and they're condemning our goddesses. And they're using the same old trite, worn-out nonsense. She was the goddess of sexuality, love, war. She was fiery, impetuous, impulsive, greedy, and emotional. The rabbi trots out the age-old attack on sexuality. He then attacks our goddesses in general for displaying the exact same character attributes as the Bible God. Did you notice that? She said she was love, just like the Bible God says, but then she also liked to go to war. She was fiery, she was impetuous, she was impulsive, she was greedy, she was emotional, but she wasn't jealous. She was demanding, stormy, fierce, given to rage, romantic, vindictive, full of passion, prideful, vengeful, just like the Bible God. Just like the Bible God. The rabbi wants to condemn our gods and goddesses for displaying the same character attributes that the God of the Bible does. Well, the God of the Bible's holy, and those are demons. That's why it's okay. If you believe that, you're not smart enough to be here. Or you're not smart enough to stay here. I should probably say correctly, meaning listening to this, because you won't be able to handle it. It'll upset your tum-tum. There's a couple of points here. We see that these goddesses and gods he's talking about graphically display attitudes also displayed in the Bible God. And if he's talking about goddesses here and Yahweh's acting just like the goddesses, then Yahweh's supposed to be a dude. Why is he acting like a goddess? But we know from prior deprograms in this series that the Jesus character was the pre-incarnated female aspect of the biblical divinity, the Elohim. And Jesus in Revelation 19:15 is acting just like the goddess that he really is, because he's coming back in Revelation 19:15 to kill every Gentile. He says he's the God of love, Jesus does, but he's coming back with war, a sword coming out of his mouth. He's coming back fiery. He's coming back emotional. He's coming back demanding. He's coming back in rage. He's coming back vindictive. He's coming back offended. He's coming back vengeful, violent, and he's coming back to kill every single Gentile. Jesus is acting just like the goddess he is. And I'll have more to say about that in this series, and I've had more to say about it in other ones. You'll have to go watch them. He also tries to say, the rabbi does, that our goddess was a goddess of prostitution. And this further ties the goddess and the Christ character together. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And if you listen to me at all, you have seen that Jesus has been proven to be highly connected, heavily linked to prostitution. His Mary mother was proven to be a sacred temple prostitute. Her mother was proven to be a sacred temple prostitute. If he did hang out with Mary Magdalene, she was a sacred temple prostitute. And I've shown you at least two places in the scripture, your script, where the disciples are saying, damn, Jesus, what's wrong with you? People are going to see you hanging out with them prostitutes, because we've proven to you and confirmed by the great scholar John from Tulsa that the Jerusalem temple had sacred prostitution on the grounds. Oh, yeah, I prove all this stuff. But you see, they miss the point. They don't miss the point. They make the point so that you'll miss the point. Sometimes darkness is as necessary as light. And sometimes darkness is even more necessary than light. Judeo-Christians love to defend their God's dark attributes as righteous and holy responses to this thing called sin, while wholesale condemning like actions by any pagan gods or goddesses. And here's the difference. Judeo-Christians and their God, they use dark powers offensively and unilaterally. Their God, Judeo-Christians and their God, attack innocent people. That's how they built their New World Order. Did you know the New World Order is a Judeo-Christian world order? And the world was conquered by Judeo-Christianity, by the Roman sword, the Roman short sword. The difference is that the Judeo-Christians and their God, use dark powers offensively and unilaterally. Whereas we and our gods, we will only use our dark powers defensively and in response to attack. Do you see the difference? We don't start fights, but we finish them. And I suggest to you tonight that it's high time for pagans to start stirring up and channeling some dark energy in response to the extinction level atrocities being aimed at us by Judeo-Christianity today. We need all of what we are, including our darkness, including our shadow. We need all of us to win this war, and it is a war. We have been attacked unilaterally and relentlessly. And because of that, we have the moral high ground to unleash all the weapons at our disposal. Let the last battalion mount up and ride. Let the wild hunt begin. Let it begin. And the crowd goes wild. See how much further I got. Huh. I got further than I thought. I don't know if I want to go this far or not, but we'll see. We'll see. But it's time for us to get in touch with our darkness. And this rabbi tries to defame our gods to distract us from theirs. They call our gods carnal. They call our gods bringing sexuality. They call their temples as houses of prostitution. Judeo-Christians try to make all sensuality and sexuality evil. They dare to condemn our pagan temples for hosting sacred prostitution while completely ignoring the fact that the Jerusalem temple did too. Ritualized temple sex was the entire reason for the so-called Holy of Holies. Not to mention the fact that the Jesus character and his mother Mary had undeniable ties to the temple prostitution in Jerusalem, and Jesus to prostitution, and Jesus to open grove sexuality. And the reason why they try to make sensuality and sexuality evil is because they know that sensuality and sexuality is extremely powerful. We have been advocating for some months now for people to stop using Judeo-Christian pornography. And if it's on the internet, it's Judeo-Christian pornography. We know who owns the pornography. We know who runs pornography. We know who started pornography. We know who all the actors and owners are. We have been encouraging them to stop using pornography for sexual excitation, and instead to start using great God and goddess archetypes. If you're a girl, use the God archetypes. If you're a dude, use the goddess archetypes. Girls, you can go a little bit outside the lines there, but dudes, just stay with the goddess archetypes. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me. That's why they're trying to keep us from doing it. That's why they're trying to keep us masturbating to their porn. That's why they're trying to keep us couples watching porn before they have sex, or why they have sex, because they want the energy that it produces. But if we stop using porn, then we get the energy. And it causes a great loss of energy for their ranks. At one time, I thought that was all that we needed to turn the tide, but we actually need more, but that's a great start. So, there's that. And following the blatant hypocrisy regarding the reality of sacred prostitution in both our traditions and theirs, the rabbi spends chapters 18 through 20 trying to convince us that pagans brought illicit sexuality into Western culture. He blames the sexual revolution in the United States on us when it was clearly driven by big media and big education and heavily aided by the repressive nonsense of Judeo-Christian fear porn social mores. He tries to blame us for Hollywood when we all know who runs Hollywood. They tried to blame us for the economy, the economic factors, and we all know who controls Western finance. He tries to blame us for the explosion of porn, and we all know who started and still runs the porn industry. We all know, but he's trying to reframe it because the rabbi is a filthy liar. Jonathan David Kahn, who wrote this book, Return of the Gods, he's a filthy liar. Because in chapter 21 of his book, the rabbi blames us, pagans, for alcohol. He blames us, pagans, for pharmacological addictions. And we all know who runs both those industries. And then he has the audacity to blame us for rock and roll. And we all know who owns and runs that business to this day. To this day. I just wonder how far I go on YouTube. No, I can't go any further. I can't go any further. I'm going to do a little more show, but I'm not going to do it on YouTube. I can't. So I will go ahead and put in the URL for our epic Rockfin stream. And we're going to leave we're going to leave our YouTube channels, and you can come over to Rockfin, and we will continue the magnificence for a little bit longer. But at this point, I want to say goodbye to everyone on the Flee the Watchtower YouTube channel. I salute you for being here, seeking after truth. We'll see you again.